The galactic breeding facility on Station Epsilon was known across the stars for making the best fighting dragons in the universe. These amazing creatures had scales and wings. They could fly both in air and in space. Military groups from all over wanted to buy them. In holding pen 17, a small dragon sat alone in the corner. Its scales, which should have been bright and shiny, looked dull and sad. This dragon was different from the others. While its brothers and sisters were big and strong with wide wings, this one was only half their size. The staff called it Ember, but most just said, the runt. Dr. Mason Reynolds looked at Ember's health charts with a frown on his face. He was the head scientist at the facility. Another no from the Arcturus military, he said. That's the 7th group that doesn't want this dragon. His helper, Tina Wilson, looked at the small dragon through the window. What's wrong with it? The genetic plan looked perfect when it was growing. That's what I don't understand, Mason said, running his hand through his gray hair. On paper, Ember should be special. The genetic markers for making fire, mind connection, and space awareness are all there, but they're sleeping. It's like something is missing, a trigger we can't find. The boss of the facility, Kevin Blackwood, had already made up his mind. We can't keep spending money on a broken dragon. If no one buys it by the end of the month, we'll have to kill it and study its body. What they didn't know was that Ember understood every word they said. The small dragon was much smarter than they thought, but without a proper bond with someone, there was no way to show it. Ember curled up tighter, folding its wings close to its body, waiting for something, or someone, that might never come. The next day, Dr. Reynolds brought a group of alien buyers to see the dragons. They were tall, blue-skinned creatures with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow. They were from a planet called Vega Prime, known for its fierce warriors. As you can see, Dr. Reynolds said, pointing to the large dragons showing off their wings and breathing small flames, our latest batch has exceeded all performance metrics. They can reach speeds of up to 500 miles per hour in atmosphere, survive the vacuum of space for up to 6 hours, and their fire can melt most standard metals. The lead alien, Commander Drex, nodded his large head. Impressive. Our military has need of such weapons. The border disputes with the Centauri Collective grow more intense each cycle. As the group moved along the row of pens, one of the aliens noticed Ember hiding in the corner. What about that small one? Is it sick? Dr. Reynolds quickly tried to direct their attention elsewhere. That specimen is not meeting our quality standards. It will be removed from the program soon. Commander Drex walked closer to Ember's pen, his yellow eyes narrowing. Curious. Its brain patterns seem more complex than the others. Dr. Reynolds looked surprised. You can sense that? My species has limited telepathic abilities, Drex explained. This one thinks differently. More, deeply. For a moment, Ember looked up, making eye contact with the alien commander. A flicker of hope sparked in the small dragon's eyes. But Commander Drex turned away. Still, we need warriors, not thinkers. Show me your premium stock. The hope in Ember's eyes died. The small dragon curled up tighter, turning its face toward the wall. Later that evening, after the facility had quieted down for the night cycle, Tina Wilson returned to Ember's pen. Unlike her boss, she felt sorry for the small dragon. Sometimes she would bring extra food or just sit nearby, talking softly. I'm sorry, little one, she said, placing her hand against the clear wall of the pen. I wish there was something I could do. Ember moved closer to the wall, pressing its snout against the spot where Tina's hand rested on the other side. The gesture made Tina smile sadly. You understand more than they think, don't you? She whispered. The dragon blinked slowly, its golden eyes seeming to say yes. Tina sighed. I've been looking at your tests. Your genetic structure is actually more complex than the others, not less. It's like you were designed for something different. Ember tilted its head, listening. The problem is, nobody knows what that something is, Tina continued. And in this business, if they don't understand you, they... She couldn't finish the sentence. The small dragon made a soft rumbling sound, almost like it was trying to comfort her. I have to go now, Tina said, standing up. But I'll try to think of something. I promise. As she walked away, Ember watched her go, then returned to its corner. The dragon closed its eyes, but it wasn't sleeping. It was reaching out with its mind, searching for something, or someone, who could hear its silent call. The next morning, Station Epsilon was busier than usual. An Alliance diplomatic ship had docked, bringing officials from Earth for trade talks. The station was filled with humans in formal uniforms, moving between meetings and social events. In the breeding facility, Dr. Reynolds was giving a tour to a group of Earth scientists who wanted to see the famous dragons. Among them was Dr. Frank Turner, a respected biologist who had brought his daughter along. This is highly irregular, Dr. Reynolds whispered to Dr. Turner. Children are not allowed in the research areas. Frank Turner smiled apologetically. My wife is attending the diplomatic functions, and Melissa has always been fascinated by xenobiology. I promised her she could see the dragons if she stayed quiet and didn't touch anything. Dr. Reynolds frowned but nodded. Very well, but please keep her close. 16-year-old Melissa Turner had no intention of staying close to her father. The moment the adults became engrossed in technical discussions about genetic engineering, she slipped away to explore on her own. The holding pens were amazing. Each one held a different dragon, bigger and more impressive than any creature she had ever seen. They had scales and colors she couldn't even name, wings that looked strong enough to create hurricanes, and eyes that seemed to glow with inner fire. But something pulled her attention away from the magnificent beasts. A feeling, like a whisper in her mind, drawing her toward the end of the row. There, in the last pen, was a dragon unlike the others. Small, with dull scales, curled up as if trying to disappear. Melissa moved closer, drawn by something she couldn't explain. When she reached the clear wall of the pen, she placed her hand against it. Hello, she said softly. The small dragon's head snapped up, eyes wide with surprise. No one had ever spoken directly to it before, not like this, like it was worth talking to. Slowly, Ember moved toward the wall, stopping just inches from Melissa's hand on the other side. Their eyes met, gold looking into blue, and something passed between them, a connection that neither had felt before. In that moment, Melissa heard a voice in her mind. Not in words exactly, but in feelings and images that somehow formed a clear thought, you found me. Melissa gasped, pulling her hand back in shock. Did you just... Melissa. Her father's voice broke the moment. I told you to stay with the group. Dr. Frank Turner hurried over, with Dr. Reynolds close behind him. I'm sorry, Frank said to his colleague. My daughter has always been too curious for her own good. What's wrong with this dragon? Melissa asked, ignoring her father's scolding. Why is it so small? Dr. Reynolds sighed. It's a failed specimen. The genetic activation sequence didn't work properly. Failed? Melissa looked back at Ember, who was now pressed against the wall, eyes fixed on her. It doesn't look failed to me. It looks lonely. Melissa, come along now, her father said, taking her arm. We're guests here, and we shouldn't interfere with Dr. Reynolds' work. As they walked away, Melissa looked back over her shoulder. The small dragon was still watching her, its eyes filled with a desperate hope. And in her mind, she heard it again, not words, but a feeling that clearly meant, please come back. She would. Somehow, she would find a way. Melissa Turner couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the small dragon looking at her. She felt its sadness and loneliness like it was her own. The strange connection they had shared kept pulling at her mind. I have to see it again, she whispered to herself in the dark guest quarters where she and her father were staying. Her father was fast asleep in the next room. He had a big meeting in the morning with the station scientists. Melissa knew he wouldn't wake up if she was quiet. She slipped out of bed and put on her shoes. The station's night cycle meant the hallways were dim, with only emergency lights glowing along the floors. Melissa had paid close attention during their tour. She remembered the way to the Dragon facility. The main door to the breeding center needed a special card to open. Melissa frowned, thinking her plan would end before it began. Then she noticed a small service entrance to the side. It was marked, "Maintenance Only," but the lock was simpler. She had learned a few tricks from her friend Danny back on Earth, who could open almost any basic lock. After a few minutes of careful work with a hairpin, the door clicked open. Melissa slipped inside, her heart beating fast. The breeding center was quiet and dark. Only a few safety lights lit the long hallway of dragon pens. Most of the dragons were sleeping, their large bodies rising and falling with deep breaths. Some had flames flickering gently from their nostrils as they dreamed. Melissa moved quietly to the last pen, where the small dragon was kept. Unlike the others, this dragon wasn't sleeping. It was sitting up, looking directly at the door, as if it had been waiting for her. "You knew I was coming," Melissa whispered, amazed. The dragon moved closer to the clear wall, its golden eyes fixed on her. Melissa felt that strange connection again, stronger this time. Images and feelings flowed into her mind, loneliness, hope, and something like a question. "I felt you too," Melissa said, placing her hand against the wall. "I couldn't stay away." The dragon pressed its snout against the wall where her hand rested. A warm feeling spread through Melissa's mind, like a thank you. "They're going to hurt you, aren't they?" Melissa asked, remembering the cold way Dr. Reynolds had talked about the failed specimen. The dragon blinked slowly, and Melissa somehow understood this meant yes. "That's not fair," she said, anger rising in her chest. "Just because you're different doesn't mean you're wrong." Melissa looked around the pen. There was a control panel on the side with buttons and a small screen. One button was clearly marked "Open." But it needed a code. "I can't get you out," she said sadly. "Not tonight. But I'll find a way, I promise." The dragon made a soft rumbling sound. In Melissa's mind, she felt understanding and patience. "I need to know more about you," she said. "Do you have a name?" The dragon tilted its head, sending her a feeling that meant no, not really. The scientists called it Ember, but that wasn't its true name. "Then I'll give you one," Melissa said. She looked at the small dragon, taking in its golden eyes and the way its scales, though dull now, seemed to have a hidden fire within them. "Phoenix," she decided. In Earth stories, the phoenix is a bird that rises from ashes and becomes more beautiful and powerful than before. The dragon's eyes widened. It stood taller, stretching its wings slightly. For just a moment, Melissa thought she saw a faint glow beneath its scales, like embers stirring to life. "You like that name," she said, smiling. The dragon, Phoenix, nodded its head. "I need to go before someone finds me," Melissa said. "But I'll come back tomorrow night. And I'll find a way to help you." As she turned to leave, she felt a wave of gratitude from Phoenix, so strong it brought tears to her eyes. The next day was hard for Melissa. She had to pretend to be interested in the boring diplomatic meetings her father took her to. All she could think about was Phoenix and how to save the small dragon. During lunch, she overheard two scientists talking. "The runt dragon is scheduled for termination tomorrow," one said. "Blackwood finally signed off on it." "About time," the other replied. "We've wasted enough resources on that failure." Melissa nearly dropped her drink. They were going to kill Phoenix tomorrow. She had to do something tonight. After dinner, she asked her father about the dragons. "Dad, can anyone buy one of those dragons, or just military groups?" Frank Turner looked up from his reports. "Why do you ask?" "I was just curious. They're so amazing." Well, her father said, they're mainly sold to military and security forces. But technically, anyone with enough money and the right permits could buy one. Though I can't imagine why a private citizen would want a war dragon. What about that small one? The one they said was a failure? Her father frowned. Melissa, please don't tell me you've gotten attached to that creature. It's not a pet. But what if someone wanted to buy it? For research maybe. I suppose the facility would sell it rather than waste the resources they've put into it, he said. But it would still cost hundreds of thousands of credits, and you'd need special permits. Melissa nodded, thinking hard. She didn't have that kind of money, and she couldn't get permits. But maybe there was another way. That night, she waited until her father was asleep before sneaking out again. This time, she brought a small device she had taken from her father's bag, his Emergency Alliance ID badge. As a top scientist, he had access to many secure areas. When she reached Phoenix's pen, the dragon was waiting for her again. They're planning to kill you tomorrow, Melissa said quickly. We need to get you out tonight. Phoenix's eyes showed understanding and fear. Melissa went to the control panel and tried her father's badge. The screen lit up, recognizing the high-level credentials. It asked for a voice confirmation. Dr. Frank Turner, Alliance Science Division, she said, trying to make her voice deeper like her father's. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the screen flashed green, access granted. The clear wall of the pen slid open. There was nothing between Melissa and Phoenix now. The small dragon stepped forward cautiously. It was even smaller up close, only coming up to Melissa's chest. Its scales were a dull copper color, nothing like the bright metallic shine of the other dragons. Melissa reached out her hand slowly. It's okay, she whispered. I won't hurt you. Phoenix stretched out its neck and pressed its head against her palm. The connection that had been growing between them suddenly exploded into full life. Melissa gasped as her mind filled with Phoenix's thoughts and feelings. It wasn't just simple images now, but complex ideas and emotions. Thank you for saving me, came the clear thought in Melissa's mind. You can talk, she whispered in amazement. Only to you, Phoenix replied. We are bonded now. We need to hurry, Melissa said, looking nervously at the door. Someone might come. Where will we go? Phoenix asked. That was the problem. Melissa hadn't thought that far ahead. They couldn't go back to her quarters, and they couldn't stay in the facility. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway. They know you're out. Melissa said, panic rising in her chest. Follow me, Phoenix said, moving toward the door. I know this place better than you think. The small dragon led Melissa through a service corridor she hadn't noticed before. They could hear voices and footsteps behind them as security guards searched the facility. How do you know where to go? Melissa asked as they hurried through the narrow passage. I've mapped this entire station in my mind, Phoenix explained. The scientists don't know how much I understand or how much I've learned by listening to them. They reached a small maintenance bay with a door that led outside the station. It was an airlock used by workers who needed to make repairs to the outer hull. There are space suits in that locker, Phoenix said. You'll need one. But what about you? Melissa asked. You can't survive in space, can you? Phoenix made a sound that felt like laughter in Melissa's mind. That's what they think. But dragons were made for space. We just need someone to believe in us first. Melissa quickly put on one of the smaller space suits. It was still too big for her, but it would work. As she sealed the helmet, she heard voices getting closer. We need to go now, she said, her voice shaking with fear and excitement. Phoenix nodded. Hold on to me. No matter what happens, don't let go. Melissa wrapped her arms around the dragon's neck. Phoenix pressed a control with its tail, and the outer airlock door began to open. The vacuum of space waited for them, filled with stars. Melissa held her breath, even though the suit would protect her. "Trust me," Phoenix said. And together, they leaped into the darkness of space. Floating in space should have been terrifying. Melissa had expected to feel scared as they drifted away from Station Epsilon. But with her arms wrapped around Phoenix's neck, she felt strangely calm. The small dragon's body was warm against her spacesuit. More surprising was how Phoenix moved through space with purpose, not just floating aimlessly. The dragon's wings, which had seemed too small inside the pen, now spread wide. They caught the solar winds like sails, guiding their path away from the station. "Are you afraid?" Phoenix asked in Melissa's mind. "No," she answered truthfully. "But I don't understand how you can survive out here. There's no air." "Dragons don't need air the way humans do," Phoenix explained. "We can absorb energy directly from starlight. And our scales protect us from the cold of space." As if to prove this point, Phoenix's dull copper scales began to shimmer slightly, taking on a faint glow as they absorbed the light from the nearby sun. "That's amazing," Melissa said. "But where are we going? We can't just float in space forever." "There's a small moon orbiting the gas giant behind the station," Phoenix told her. "It has air you can breathe and places to hide. We can rest there while we decide what to do next." Melissa looked back at Station Epsilon, which was growing smaller behind them. Lights were flashing around the docking bays. They were probably sending ships to search for them. "My dad will be so worried," she said, feeling guilty. "And so angry." "I'm sorry," Phoenix said. "I didn't mean to separate you from your family. It's not your fault. I couldn't let them hurt you." Melissa tightened her grip on the dragon. "We'll figure something out." They flew through space for what felt like hours. Melissa's suit had enough oxygen for a full day, but she hoped they wouldn't need that long. Finally, a small, rocky moon came into view. It orbited a massive gas giant with swirling purple and blue clouds. Phoenix angled their flight toward a crater on the dark side of the moon. As they got closer, Melissa could see that the crater held a small research outpost. It looked abandoned, with no lights showing in its windows. "The scientists used this place to study the gas giant storms," Phoenix explained. "They left 2 years ago when their funding ran out. But they left most of their equipment behind." "How do you know all this?" Melissa asked, amazed. "I listened to everything the scientists said at the facility. They never thought I could understand them, so they talked freely around me." They landed gently on the rocky surface. Phoenix led Melissa to an airlock at the base of the outpost. The dragon pressed some buttons on the control panel with its tail, and the door slid open. Once they were inside and the airlock had filled with air, Melissa removed her helmet. The air smelled stale but was breathable. "You're full of surprises," she said to Phoenix. "I thought you were just a small, weak dragon. But you're so much more." Phoenix lowered its head modestly. "I'm still small and weak compared to the others. But I have different strengths." They explored the abandoned outpost. It had a main room with computers and research equipment, a small kitchen area, sleeping quarters with 4 beds, and a storage room. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Melissa found some emergency ration packs in the kitchen. They weren't very tasty, but she was hungry enough not to care. Phoenix didn't need to eat food, getting energy from the starlight it had absorbed during their flight. As Melissa ate, she noticed something strange happening to Phoenix. The dragon's scales, which had been dull copper before, now had a faint golden glow that seemed to be growing stronger. "What's happening to you?" she asked. Phoenix looked down at its own body, seeming surprised. "I'm not sure. I feel different. Stronger." The dragon stretched its wings, which also seemed to be glowing slightly. "I think it's because of our bond. No dragon has ever bonded with a human before. At least, not that I know of. The scientists said your genetic activation sequence failed, Melissa remembered. Maybe it didn't fail. Maybe it just needed something they didn't understand. Maybe it needed you, Phoenix said simply. Melissa blushed. We should rest. Tomorrow we need to figure out what to do next. They found one of the sleeping quarters with a bed that wasn't too dusty. Melissa lay down, and Phoenix curled up beside her, its warm body providing comfort in the cold outpost. Despite everything that had happened, Melissa fell asleep quickly. Her dreams were filled with stars and the feeling of flying through space. She woke to the sound of Phoenix's voice in her mind, urgent and worried. Melissa, wake up. Ships are coming. She sat up quickly. From the station? Are they looking for us? No, Phoenix said, its golden eyes wide. These are not Alliance ships. They feel wrong. Melissa followed Phoenix to the main room of the outpost. The dragon had managed to power up one of the old computer screens, which showed a radar display. 6 ships were approaching the moon. Who are they? Melissa asked. I don't know, Phoenix admitted. But they're not friendly. I can feel their intentions. They're looking for something on this moon. Maybe they're just miners or explorers. Phoenix shook its head. No. They mean harm. We should hide. They turned off all the power in the outpost and retreated to the storage room at the back. Through a small window, they could see the ships landing about half a mile away from their location. The ships were black with red markings. They looked built for speed and fighting, not research or mining. Men in dark armor began to exit the ships, carrying weapons. Pirates, Melissa whispered. My dad told me about them. They attack ships and stations in the outer system. What are they doing here? Phoenix wondered. This moon is a good hiding place. Maybe it's their base. They watched as the pirates set up equipment around their ships. It looked like they were planning to stay for a while. We're trapped, Melissa said, fear creeping into her voice. If we try to leave, they'll see us. And we can't call for help because they might hear the signal. Phoenix was quiet for a moment, thinking. Maybe we don't need to call for help. Maybe we can be the help. What do you mean? Those pirates will attack other ships and hurt people, right? Melissa nodded. That's what pirates do. Then we should stop them, Phoenix said simply. Melissa stared at the small dragon. How? There are at least 20 of them, and they have weapons and ships. We're just a girl and a... She paused, not wanting to say, small dragon. A what? Phoenix asked, a hint of amusement in its mental voice. A dragon that everyone thought was weak, Melissa finished. But I don't think you're weak anymore. Indeed, Phoenix looked different this morning. The glow beneath its scales had grown stronger overnight. Its body seemed slightly larger, more muscular. And its eyes burned with a new confidence. I can feel myself changing, Phoenix said. The bond between us is making me stronger. But I need your help to become what I'm meant to be. What do you need me to do? Believe in me, Phoenix said. Completely and without doubt. Open your mind fully to our bond. Melissa took a deep breath and placed her hands on either side of Phoenix's face. She looked into those golden eyes and let go of all her barriers. The connection between them, which had been growing since they first met, now burst into full bloom. Melissa gasped as her mind merged with Phoenix's. She could feel the dragon's thoughts and emotions as clearly as her own. And she could feel something else, a power sleeping within Phoenix, waiting to be awakened. Yes, Phoenix said. That's it. Now, call to that power. It will listen to you. How? Just want it to awaken. Desire it with all your heart. Melissa closed her eyes and focused on that sleeping power she could feel inside Phoenix. She wanted it to wake up, to show itself. She wanted Phoenix to be strong and powerful, to become what it was always meant to be. A warm, tingling sensation spread from her hands into Phoenix's body. The dragon began to glow brighter, the light shining through its scales like a sun breaking through clouds. When Melissa opened her eyes, she gasped in amazement. Phoenix was changing before her eyes. The dragon's body was growing larger, its wings expanding. The dull copper scales were falling away, replaced by new ones that shone like polished gold. A crest of spines rose along its back, and its eyes blazed like twin stars. In just minutes, the small, weak dragon was gone. In its place stood a magnificent creature that radiated power and grace. "This is what I was always meant to be," Phoenix said, its mental voice stronger and deeper than before. "This is my true form, awakened by our bond." Melissa stepped back, looking up at her friend in wonder. "You're beautiful," she whispered. Phoenix lowered its head to her level. "And now, we can face those pirates. Together." Melissa stared in wonder at Phoenix. The once small dragon now stood tall and proud, its golden scales gleaming like sunlight. Phoenix was now 3 times larger than before, with powerful muscles rippling under its shining scales. The wings that had seemed too small now spread wide enough to cast the entire room in shadow. "Can you really fight all those pirates?" Melissa asked, still not quite believing the transformation she had witnessed. Phoenix lowered its magnificent head to look her in the eyes. "Not alone. But together, we can. The bond between us makes both of us stronger." "What do you mean, both of us?" Melissa asked. "Reach out with your mind," Phoenix instructed. "Feel what I feel. See what I see." Melissa closed her eyes and focused on their mental connection. Suddenly, she could sense things she never had before. She could feel the heat signatures of the pirates moving around outside. She could hear their voices clearly, even though they were half a mile away. And she could feel a new power flowing through her own body, making her feel stronger and more alive than ever before. "This is amazing," she whispered, opening her eyes. "Is this how you always feel?" "This is how we feel now," Phoenix corrected. "Our minds and powers are joined. What one of us can do, the other can share." Melissa walked to the window and looked out at the pirate camp. With her enhanced senses, she could see them clearly now. They were setting up what looked like a base, with defensive weapons pointing outward. "They're planning to stay here," she said. "This must be their hidden base, where they can attack passing ships. We need to stop them before they hurt anyone," Phoenix said. "But we must be smart about it. There are many of them, and they have weapons." Melissa thought for a moment. "We need a plan. We can't just attack them directly." They spent the next hour watching the pirates and making a plan. The pirates had 6 ships, but only one was large, probably their main vessel. The others were smaller fighter ships. About 20 pirates moved around the camp, setting up equipment and guard posts. "If we can disable their ships, they'll be stranded here," Melissa said. "Then we can call for help from the Alliance." "I can damage their ships," Phoenix said confidently. "But we need to be careful. If they see us coming, they'll use their weapons." "What if they don't see us coming?" Melissa asked, an idea forming in her mind. "You said dragons were made for space. Can you fly high above them, then come down fast?" Phoenix's eyes gleamed with approval. "Yes. They won't be looking up. And I can move very fast now." "Then that's our plan," Melissa said. "You'll attack from above, disable their ships, and then we'll find a way to call for help." They waited until the pirates seemed less alert. Many had gone inside their main ship, probably to eat or rest. Only a few guards remained outside. Melissa climbed onto Phoenix's back, settling between the dragon's shoulder blades. The space suit she had taken from the station would protect her in the brief time they would be in open space. "Hold tight," Phoenix warned. "I'll be moving faster than you can imagine." They left through the outpost's airlock. Once outside, Phoenix crouched low, then launched into the sky with incredible power. Melissa gasped as they shot upward, the moon's surface quickly shrinking below them. The acceleration would have crushed her if not for the protective field Phoenix was somehow creating around them both. They rose high above the moon, then hovered for a moment. From this height, the pirate camp looked tiny. "Ready?" Phoenix asked. "Ready," Melissa confirmed, tightening her grip on the dragon's neck. Phoenix folded its wings and dove. They plummeted toward the surface like a golden meteor. The wind would have torn Melissa away if not for the protective field and her tight grip. She could feel Phoenix's excitement and determination flowing through their bond. The pirates didn't see them coming until it was too late. Phoenix opened its mouth and released a stream of golden fire, not normal fire, but something that looked like pure energy. The beam hit the first small fighter ship, cutting through its hull like it was paper. The ship didn't explode, but its systems shut down immediately. Now the pirates were shouting and running. Some grabbed weapons and began firing upward, but Phoenix was moving too fast to hit. The dragon banked sharply and came around for another pass, this time targeting the weapons the pirates had set up around their camp. Another blast of golden energy, and the weapons melted into useless metal. The pirates were in chaos now, some running for cover, others still trying to shoot at the golden blur above them. Phoenix landed hard in the center of their camp, wings spread wide and head raised high. Melissa stayed on the dragon's back, protected by its power. She could feel Phoenix gathering energy for another attack if needed. "Leave this moon," Melissa shouted to the stunned pirates. "Your ships are disabled, and you can't fight us." The pirate leader stepped forward. He was a tall man with a scarred face and cold eyes. "A child and a pet dragon," he sneered. "You think you can threaten us?" Phoenix growled, the sound vibrating through the ground. "I am no pet," the dragon projected, making sure all the pirates could hear its mental voice. "I am a guardian, and this moon is under my protection now." The pirates looked shocked to hear the dragon speak in their minds. Some of them backed away in fear. "Last chance," Melissa said firmly. "Surrender your weapons and wait for the Alliance to come, or face what Phoenix can really do." The pirate leader hesitated, looking at his damaged ships and the golden dragon that seemed to glow with inner power. Then, slowly, he placed his weapon on the ground. "Stand down," he ordered his crew. "We can't win this fight." One by one, the pirates put down their weapons. Phoenix kept watch as Melissa went to the main pirate ship and used its communication system to send a distress call to Station Epsilon. "This is Melissa Turner," she said into the microphone. "I'm on the small moon orbiting the gas giant near Station Epsilon. I've captured a group of pirates and disabled their ships. Please send help." There was a moment of silence, then a familiar voice answered. "Melissa? Is that really you?" It was her father, Frank Turner. "We've been searching everywhere for you. Are you hurt? What happened?" "I'm fine, Dad," Melissa said, feeling tears in her eyes. "I'm with Phoenix. We're both fine." "Phoenix? Who is Phoenix?" "The dragon, Dad. The one everyone thought was weak. But they were wrong about her. She's amazing." There was a pause, then her father's voice came back, sounding confused but relieved. "Stay where you are. We're sending ships right away. And Melissa. I'm just glad you're safe." 2 hours later, 3 Alliance ships arrived at the moon. They were surprised to find 20 pirates sitting quietly under the watchful eye of a magnificent golden dragon. Even more surprising was the 16-year-old girl who seemed completely at ease beside the powerful creature. Commander Jack Turner, who had insisted on coming with the rescue team, rushed forward when he saw his daughter. "Melissa," he shouted, pulling her into a tight hug. "Do you have any idea how worried we've been?" "I'm sorry, Dad," Melissa said. "But I had to save Phoenix. They were going to kill her." Jack Turner looked up at the golden dragon with awe and confusion. This is the small dragon from the facility. The one they called a failure. Phoenix lowered her head to look at Commander Turner. I was never a failure, she projected gently. I was waiting for the right bond. The commander stepped back in shock. It can speak. In our minds? Melissa corrected. And yes, she can. But only because we're bonded. Phoenix was made to bond with humans, Dad. All the dragons were. The scientists just didn't know it. Dr. Reynolds, who had come with the rescue team, was examining Phoenix with wide eyes. This is impossible, he muttered. The genetic changes, the power levels, nothing in our research predicted this. That's because you were looking at dragons as weapons, Melissa said. But they're more than that. They're partners. Over the next few days, as they returned to Station Epsilon, Melissa and Phoenix told their story many times. Scientists ran tests and took readings, amazed by the transformation in the one small dragon. Military leaders wanted to know if other dragons could form similar bonds with humans. We need to try, Melissa insisted. Every dragon deserves a chance to find their true power. The Alliance leaders agreed. A new program was started, pairing humans with dragons to see if more bonds could form. To everyone's surprise, many of the bonds were successful. Dragons that had seemed perfectly normal before became even more powerful when bonded with a human partner. As for Melissa and Phoenix, they became heroes throughout the Alliance. The story of the girl who saved a rejected dragon, only to discover its true power, spread far and wide. They were asked to help train other human-dragon pairs and to serve as ambassadors to alien worlds. Did you know this would happen? Melissa asked Phoenix one night as they sat looking at the stars from the observation deck of Station Epsilon. Phoenix's golden scales glimmered in the starlight. I hoped, the dragon admitted. I always felt there was something more inside me, waiting to be found. I just needed someone who could see past what I appeared to be. Melissa leaned against her friend's warm side. I'm glad it was me. So am I, Phoenix replied, wrapping a protective wing around the girl who had changed everything. So am I. Together, they had proven that true strength comes not from size or appearance, but from the bonds we form and the faith we place in each other. And that was a lesson that would change their universe forever.